Alright guys, hello and welcome to my next tutorial. This is Tutorial Tuesday, the new series that we have. Tutorial Tuesday, this is episode 2, and today we're going to be doing some text. Now, this has been requested. I was going to say recommended, but no, requested. I suppose recommended as well. Anyway, enough waffle. We're going to try and cut this video down a bit. The last one was long, so try to make it as simple as possible. So I'm going to start off by spamming new layers. I'm not going to need all them at all actually, but I'm going to do it anyway because I always do. In the background bit, I'm just going to change the background color. Let's just make the new layer, just call it layer 0. I'm going to just turn that into black just because, in fact no. I don't know. In fact no, we'll just make it white. Keep it white. Add some text. Obviously just click this text button here and click anywhere wherever you want it. This little thing will come up. I'm gonna type something in, so I'll type in problem that's in white, so you're not gonna be able to see that. I will just change that to black for now, and we'll change it to say hamster. Now when choosing the font by clicking on this little drop down box here, for the technique I'm going to show you now, you want quite a fat font, so you don't want something like that. Now don't get me wrong, something like that will work, but I think the effect is better when you have something fat. Like I said, you can use something really thin, it will work, but again, repeating myself, fatter does look better. So I'm going to go for the very popular font Reboard. That is the font of choice. If you want to know how to get different fonts, or if you want to know how to get this font in particular, just type Reboard into Google, or Reboard download, and there will be a download there. All you have to do is click download, and once it's downloaded, go on it, right click and click install. If you're having trouble installing it, either let me know, I'll help you along, or just type it into Google, into YouTube, how to install a font. The video will be like 30 seconds long because it really is simple. Right, so you've got your text, very basic, very simple. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go on one of the new layers, on the layer above the text layer. I'm going to make sure that's highlighted. As you can see, it's there highlighted. Now I'm going to hold Control, and while holding Control, click the T there next to the actual text layer. So this is the text layer here, the hamster. Hold Control and click the T next to it, and what you'll see is this is just highlighted all the way around this layer, but at the same time layer 1 is still selected. So while that's all good like that, go Select, Modify, Expand, and this little thing will pop up. Now I want to expand it by about 20 pixels. It depends on the size of the document you've got. This is 1280 by 720, I think, this document. If yours is smaller, then your text's going to be smaller, so you want to expand it smaller. Basically just experiment. 20, yeah, that looks fine for me. Maybe a little bit less, but I think that looks okay. And what you'll see is that's just expanded, simple enough. It's just expanded what I had highlighted there. Fairly basic, simple stuff. Then right click in the area, go down to Fill, and make sure black is selected. You'll probably have color selected to start, or one of these three, maybe foreground or background color. I'm going to go with the black. In fact, no, I'm going to go with white because that's not going to clash with the black, if you know what I mean. Then I'm going to hit OK, and you can see that's filled that in. Then right click again and click deselect. I'll get rid of that. Now I'm just going to drag that layer underneath, and there we go. So I actually am going to change the colour of the background there, so you can see that a little more clearly, if anything. So we'll change it to like just a lightish grey. There we go. So there you go. You can see you've got that now, which is already looking pretty nice, but it hasn't got any depth. But I am actually going to repeat that process again. So this time layer 2, hold Control, click the T. It's going to highlight that text again. Select, Modify, Expand. This time I'm going to expand it by 45. And there we go, that's expanded that nicely out there. Same thing again, click on this, go right click, fill, and I'm going to change this one to black. Oops, I've clicked color there. Black, okay. Right click, deselect, and then drag this underneath layer 1, and there you go, this nice layered effect there with the text. If you did a thin one, a thin text, then these outlines that you see, this is basically just a square with the corners cut off and a few little bits of ins and outs here and there. But if you had a more thin detailed text, it would have a lot more indents like this white layer does here. It would have a lot more of them. So it doesn't really matter, I just like the bold effect. So moving on, you want to start adding some depth to these bad boys. So go to the hamster layer, the very first top layer here. I'm going to either double click it and this will open, or right click and go up to blending options and it'll do the same thing. Just drag this to about there so we can see it. First thing I'm going to do is gradient overlay, and I want the top layer to be a black color. So sorry, I took a few steps ahead there. Click on gradient overlay, make sure it's highlighted and make sure this box is ticked. Then on this sort of faded out drop box, click on it, this will open. And then where you see this sort of faded gradiented box, you want to go to this here and double click on it. Make sure you don't drag it, otherwise you'll end up like, you'll do this and it's gonna like just mess up your gradient a bit. So just double click it, try not to move the mouse while you do that. I want this top layer to be a blackish color, I think, so I'll keep it like that. In fact, no, I'm gonna make this a little more interesting. I'm gonna make it a sort of, I'll make it a blue color. I think we used blue in the last tutorial, so we'll stick with blue. I want the bottom bit to be very dark, something like that, and the top bit of the gradient to be a lot lighter, not too light, but just a bit lighter. There we go, so you've got a nice gradient going on. There we go, nice gradient. Makes it look a little more shadowed, a little nicer. Now speaking of shadow, I'm going to do a drop shadow. So again, make sure it's highlighted, make sure it's ticked. Go spread, probably about 20, and size probably about 30. I think it's the same as the last one really. So you see there, you've got a nice little drop shadow. I also want an inner shadow, but I don't want that to be as big, because again, I think I mentioned it in the last tutorial, you will end up blacking it out like that and you'll lose the blue. So just experiment, see what looks good. This is your background, remember. So there you go, that's looking fine, that's looking nice. And I'll finish it off with a bevel and emboss. I'm going to change the technique to chisel hard and increase the depth right up to about 700. Doesn't have to be exact, just roughly 700. Again, if you had a thin text, you would end up with something like that, where you'll see the bevels are overlapping each other, so you get this sort of just a ridge effect. Whereas when you've got a thick text, it's got like a flat surface on the top, if you see what I'm saying. So about 700, whatever, it doesn't matter too much. I'm going to change these to normal just so they stand out that little bit more, but I think they look alright for now. So I'm going to click OK with that. I'm actually not too happy with the colours there, so I'm just going to change these colours to a slightly sort of more electric blue, if you like. See, I've just dragged it there and it's totally messed it up. So just make sure you sort that out. Don't want to be doing that. And I don't want the gradient to be too extravagant, just to sort of, just enough really. There we go, that's looking good. I'm happy with that. So that's the first layer done. That's the first, like the top bit if you like, that's that done. So I'm going to move down to the next one, layer 1. Same thing again, I'm going to go bevel and emboss, chisel hard, increase that to about 700. Change these to normal, and I want this one, gradient overlay again, I want this one to be a kind of black colour, not too black, so I'll have the bottom bit of the gradient black, like dead black, and the next bit up a dark grey, quite like a very dark grey though, something like that. That's looking alright. Now you'll get a better idea of it once the bottom one, the one that is absolute black, the one we haven't touched yet, once that turns into a different color, then it's going to look a lot nicer, a lot better. So same stuff again, drop shadow about 20 and 30 as we did the last time, doesn't have to be exact obviously. Inner shadow again, just experiment, see what looks good. Because it's a black layer, I might actually want to increase it quite a bit. There you go, that looks alright, and I'll leave it at that. Lovely. Now the bottom one, layer 2, same thing again, bevel and emboss, chisel hard, increase the depth. The size, I actually am going to increase the size to about, not 16, definitely not, about 10. And I will actually change this one as well. You don't have to. Again, this whole thing is just an experiment, guys. You just do what you think looks good. I'm going to increase this one to about 7. Yeah, maybe 8 actually. Yeah, 8. So back to this. Sorry, gotten a little bit distracted there. Gradient overlay again. This time I want it to be blue again, but I want it to be quite a light blue. So we'll start off with the bottom bit. At about that, we can come back and change that in a second. And the top bit needs to be a light blue. So I've messed up the gradient there, as you can see. Like I was explaining before, I've made a mess of that. So I need to just fiddle about with these till I fix it. Sorry, just ignore me. There you go, that looks fine. Right, this bottom bit's probably a little too dark, so change that to a slightly darker colour. There we go, looking good. Right, again, same stuff, drop shadow. This time you want to make it a bit bigger, so I'm going to go with about 30 and 60. Again, doesn't have to be exact, this is all down to you. Inner shadow again, 20 and 50 maybe, doesn't really matter. And I think that's going to be about it. I think that's it. So there you go, guys. What you want to finish off with is highlighting all of these. Now to do this, hold Control and click on each one of them, so you've got them all highlighted. Right click, rasterize type. What that's doing is changing the layer so they're all exactly the same layer, if you like. Then right click again, merge layers. So now this is all one solid block. You can do whatever you want with it. It's all good. So that's it, guys. That's my tutorial. That's how you get a nice text effect. You can change the colors, you can change the styles, you can change everything about it. But that's it. That's very simple, very basic. See you next time, guys, for Tutorial Tuesday, or on Sunday, Speed Art Sunday. See you later.